Okay, so let's see if sound looks like it's working. Okay, so plan for this recording is to do part C in its entirety from scratch, even though we got most people about halfway through, but we'll do a complete from scratch. So first thing you need to do, if you're just logging on, if you weren't here the last time, or you just got nothing done, or just to make sure everyone's on the same page, you're going to need to create a folder, and you're going to create a folder called green sheet letters. The reason for that is there are on your green sheet, even though this is a white copy, it's always printed on a green sheet. There are 12 letters and 20 numbers. We are going to do them all eventually. And it seems like a lot, but you'll be doing parts in like 3 or 4 minutes tops by the end. It's really not that hard. I mean, eventually it's not that hard. Okay, so green sheet letters, then you're going to open up that folder and you're going to create a document. Call this one part C. We're starting with C because it is a good shape that has a few different aspects to it that makes it useful. Okay, I highly recommend you doing full screen here, which is F11 on most computers. I don't know what it is on Chromebook, but either way, it gives you a few more pixels to work with. So that's good. Okay, so the process of modeling, which is what we're doing, we're 3D modeling, is a combination of additive and subtractive modeling. Additive is modeling out of clay where you keep adding things to your design, and subtractive is sculpting out of marble where you have a big chunk and you cut away what you don't want. It's always, almost always, anything that's even has any complexity to it is going to be a combination. You're going to create material, like in this case, we're going to create a block that's the maximum dimension in all 3 dimensions. And then we're going to cut away this chunk and cut away this chunk, and we'll be left over with part C. All right. So on the top of the green sheet, it says each grid is a 1/4 inch. We're just going to do each grid is an inch because it doesn't really matter. And the way we're going to do part C is we're going to make a square, a 2-dimensional square that is the shape of the front, which is 9 wide and 6 tall. We're going to finish that sketch. Okay, so sketch is 2-dimensional drawings. When you're done with the sketch, you then do our part tools, which are 3-dimensional tools. We're going to take that rectangle and extrude it a depth of 4, and that will give us our block. That's the maximum size in all 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth, and cut away what we don't want. Okay, so we're going to start a sketch. And you can see up here, the word sketch 1 is red. That means we haven't decided where we want to sketch. We don't have any material to click on. We have to choose one of the 3 origin planes. They call them front, top, and right here. It's really like X, Y, X, Z, and Y, Z, or it doesn't really matter. There's no real up. But either way, we're going to sketch on the front because front, if we are planning on drawing this face here, this face is essentially the front, and we almost always are going to be looking at a front, top, right, what's called an isometric view, but a front, top, right 3D view is going to be our default 3D view. And you'll see up here on our view cube, we have a front, top, right view to start with. Okay, so either way, we've clicked on sketch. We haven't chosen where to sketch yet because it's still red. We're going to click on the front face, and now the word sketch is black. That means we have an active sketch. Okay, there's a green check mark and a red X means it's active. Whenever you're sketching, the 2-dimensional tools will show up: square, circle, arc, polygon, line. Even though line's 1-dimensional, irrelevant. The flat shapes. Okay, whenever you're sketching, you want to look at it straight on from whatever face you are sketching on. Okay, and I'm pretty sure there's a way to show, is there like show grids, configure panel? I'll find a way to show grid marks, but whatever. Okay, so now we want to draw a rectangle that's 9 wide and 6 tall. We're going to get the rectangle tool. And for this simple shape, it doesn't matter where you do it. I generally like to snap things to the middle because that at least gives you an origin point that you can work from. That's useful when you do more complex things. For this, it doesn't really matter. But you're going to click once, move your cursor, click again. 3D modeling software tends to be different than your regular drawing things, where in a it lets you get away sometimes with the click and drag and release, but there are other tools where you have to click once, like full click, like mouse down, mouse up, move your cursor, and then full click again. Okay, so that's a good habit to get in. So we started with a rectangle of roughly any size going in any direction, but we need to dimension it. The dimension tool is this tool right here with the arrows and the lines. The dimension tool in a drawing, or rather in a sketch, does two things. It changes the size of things, but it also constrains the size, means it locks it in. Like right now, these lines are blue, means they're not constrained. I can still like drag and move them. They're not locked in. These are black because they are locked in to 0, 0. They have snapped to 0, 0. If I just made my rectangle anywhere, they will probably be blue, I'm pretty sure. Rectangle. Yeah, so everything here is blue because nothing is constrained, which is fine for a simple shape. Doesn't really matter, but like I said, it's generally a good habit to snap to 0, 0. So now I need to dimension it because I need to make it 9 wide and 6 tall. So I get the dimension tool, and I need to dimension either the top or bottom, either one of the horizontal lines. By choosing a rectangle, we have said we want everything to be locked in to 90 degrees, and we want the width of the bottom to be the same as the width of the top. That is essentially a rectangle. So we only need to define either the top or bottom to do width. So with the dimension tool, click on the bottom, like full click, mouse down, mouse up, move down, full click again to set it. And we said we want the width to be 9. So type 9, enter. And it makes it bigger than the screen. That's fine. You can zoom in or zoom out. And we need to do the same thing for the height. So either the right or left side, click once, move out of the way, click again. When you're setting the dimension, it doesn't really matter where it is. You just need to get it out of the way. Generally, off of the shape is a good place. And we want to make it 6 tall. So now we have a rectangle that's 9 wide and 6 tall. We're done with the sketch. Click on the check mark. And now that we are working, when we finish sketch, we get the 3-dimensional tools again: extrude, revolve, sweep, loft, etc. We're going to use extrude more than everything else combined, maybe 10 times more than everything else combined, because extrude is create material. It's also cut material. Revolve is only useful for round objects, or symmetrically round, and the other ones are super complex, are useful for complex shapes. And then there's all these like fillet and chamfer and these types of things, but that's for later. Okay, so we're done with our 2-dimensional sketch. We want to look at it from a corner because we're about to do a 3-dimensional part, a 3-dimensional tool. We want to look at it from a 3-dimensional view. So these origin planes here are not really useful anymore. They're kind of confusing. So you can turn off the visibility of our 3 origin planes. And you can see we just have our rectangle here. You do need to get comfortable with using the view cube. Okay, this one, it's a little confusing. These arrows are minor moves. This is a minor move that way. The edges do like switch to the next face, which I'm not crazy about, but it'd be nice if do we have a home button? Either way, you're almost only going to be choosing a face or a corner, like this corner. Okay, there's a good 3D view. So now we have a 3D view of our rectangle. We want to extrude it. So we're going to click on extrude. And what do we want to extrude? We want to extrude the rectangle we just drew. Click on that. And how far do we want to extrude it? Well, we want to extrude it a depth of 4. So we have our rectangle, which was 9 wide and 6 tall. In order to make the full block, we want to extrude it a depth of 4. Now, this is a simple shape where nothing is going to be dependent on it. It can be, you can extrude it forward. Well, first we need to change it to 4. You can extrude it forward or backwards or halfway in each direction. It doesn't matter. That would only matter if other parts were needing to interact with it, which is not the case here. So as long as it's a depth of 4, we're good. Okay, next thing, we have 2 more moves. We have to cut away this chunk and cut away this chunk. There's a way to do it in the same move, we'll call it, the same feature, but we're going to do it separated just so you are able to see different ways of doing it. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to put a sketch on the front of our part. Okay, before when we started a sketch, we had to choose one of the origin planes, which we still could do, but now we can sketch. We have a face to click on to sketch, to draw a rectangle, and we're going to draw a rectangle that snaps to this corner. It has to start at this corner so that it goes all the way to the left side and all the way to the top. Because there's no material here, we want it to cut everything up in this corner. We want all that to go away. So we're going to make a rectangle that snaps to this corner, and we need it to be 4 wide. So this is going to be a distance of 4 and 3 tall. And let's do that first. So we are going to create a new sketch. And you can see the word sketch 2 is still red. We haven't chosen where to sketch. We want to sketch on the face. So we click on the front. Now that sketch 2 is black, we can use the 2-dimensional tools, which they still have the extrude and revolve. But either way, we want a rectangle. Well, actually, first of all, we want to look at it straight on from whatever face we're sketching on, which in this case is still front. We want a rectangle that snaps to the top left corner. Click once, move your cursor down, click again. And it's close to the right size, but it's not the right size, so we're going to dimension it. You're not expected to hit the exact size when you're setting the rectangle. So we have the dimension tool. We want to dimension the height to 3 and the width to 4. And we're done with the sketch. Now let's look at it from a corner. And it's kind of hard to see, but the lines are there. And we want to extrude. First thing we have to choose is what we want to extrude. We could extrude the rectangle we want. I mean, the rectangle we just drew. We could draw that rectangle if all we were interested in was the remainder, which is not the case. We want to extrude this, but we don't want to create material. We want to remove material, and we want to remove a depth of 2, because that's how far the cutback goes. And there we go. There's the top left corner. Next we have, or the only other thing is this front right situation. And for this, the way I'm going to do it is put a sketch on the top right here. We're going to start a new sketch and choose the top face and make a rectangle that is the size that we want to cut away, which is 2 by 2. It'll be a square, but still the rectangle tool 2 by 2. And then we're going to cut extrude all the way down. And that will leave us with part C in its completeness. So we're going to start a sketch. Word sketch is still red. We're not sketching anywhere yet. We want to choose the top face, just one click. And now that we're sketching, we want to look at it straight on. And we want a rectangle tool. And we want this tool to snap to the front right. Well, actually, this is the front right, because we're looking at it down from the top. Don't worry, this corner. Click once, go in, click again. We need to dimension it. Dimension this to 2 wide, and this to 2. Technically, this is 2 deep because it's, like I said, from the top, but 2 by 2. And finish the sketch. And let's look at it from a corner again. We're going to do extrude, choose our rectangle, switch it to remove, and we want to remove 6, which is all the way down. Pause it. And okay, so we're going to remove 6. There probably is a way. Does all work? No, second end position. There's a couple ways to choose it, but it just needs to be at least 6. If you chose 10, it wouldn't matter. It would just cut through nothing towards the end. As long as the number is bigger than 6, or 6 or bigger is fine. So finish sketch, and that's it. I do think it's on autosave. Yeah, it's probably on autosave. And that is the end of part C. Okay.